My sister and I kept noticing the same thing. Every woman who visited our neighbor left looking completely dazed. We had questions, so we went over to introduce ourselves, and the second he opened the door, we knew he wasn't surprised to see us. Before we start, if you're a regular here and enjoy these stories, take a second to like and subscribe. It's the simplest way, bell ringing, to support the channel, and I truly appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Let's begin. It was late, and I was about to head upstairs when something caught my eye through the front window. Just across the street, his bedroom light flicked on, and he wasn't alone. I stopped mid-step, one hand still on the banister. A woman stood near the window, already halfway undressed. Her dress slipped off her shoulders like it had happened 100 times before. She leaned into him, hands on his chest, while he just stood there, calm and still, like he had all the time in the world. "Emma," I called, my voice low but urgent. "You need to see this." She wandered in with a blanket wrapped around her, hair messy from the couch. "What?" I pointed without turning. "He's at it again," she sighed. "Sophie, come on." "No, seriously, look." She stepped beside me, hesitant. But when she glanced out the window, her eyes widened. Through the glass, we could see everything. Her back was against the wall now, his hand braced beside her head. He leaned in, whispering something. She laughed, then went quiet as he slowly lifted her thigh, guiding her closer. Emma covered her mouth. "We shouldn't be watching this." "And yet," I said, grinning. We both stayed there, motionless, pressed close to the window like teenagers spying on something we weren't supposed to see. He moved slowly, like he'd done this 1,000 times, like her reactions didn't surprise him anymore. She clung to him, her head rolling back, her legs shaky before she even moved. When he turned her around, she held the window frame like it was the only thing keeping her steady. Emma shifted. "Is that the same girl from last week?" "Nope," I said. "That's a new one. 5th, maybe 6th this month." Emma shook her head, but her eyes didn't leave the window. "That's insane." "I'm telling you." I whispered. "They come in confident, laughing, flirting, and leave looking like they've just been through something they'll never forget." We watched her tense again. Her mouth dropped open, jaw slack, eyes fluttering. He barely moved, but whatever he was doing had her holding on like her whole body was reacting to it. Emma turned away, flustered. "Okay, that's enough." I didn't move. "You can't tell me you're not a little curious." She sat down on the armrest, clutching her blanket tighter. "I mean, he is kind of impressive." "Kind of?" I said. "That man is a walking mystery. Mid-50s, barely says a word, never brags, and somehow has every woman in this neighborhood leaving his place like they just stepped out of a dream." Emma bit her lip. I smiled. "I want to know what that's like." She laughed nervously. "You're not serious." "Oh, I'm very serious." "Not tonight," I added, "but tomorrow. I might go over there, say hi, introduce myself." "You're going to what? Knock on his door and ask for a sample?" "Maybe I'll borrow sugar," I said, grinning. "Or ask if he needs help carrying something heavy, whatever works." Emma stood, blanket still clutched tight. "You're out of your mind." "I know," I said. But admit it. You're wondering too." She didn't answer, just pulled the blanket tighter and looked away. I woke up the next morning with one thing still stuck in my head. Him. No part of me felt guilty about watching. If anything, I was more curious than ever. What was it about him that left every woman completely shaken? Emma, on the other hand, acted like last night hadn't burned itself into her brain too. She was still in her pajamas, curled up on the couch with a bowl of cereal like nothing had happened at all. I leaned in the doorway, arms crossed. "So," I said casually. "I'm thinking now's a good time." She didn't look up. "Good time for what?" You know what? She sighed, already bracing. You are serious? Completely. Sophie, she groaned. You cannot just knock on some man's door because you liked what you saw through his window. First of all, I said, grabbing my keys. It's not just what I saw. It's what I've seen repeatedly, consistently. And last night, that sealed it. Emma pulled the blanket over her head. I'm not going. You don't have to do anything, I said. Just come with me. Back me up. Maybe pretend I'm borrowing something. She peeked out. Why do you even want me there? Because, I said, walking over. You'll keep me from doing something too bold. Or you'll pressure me into doing something stupid. Possibly, I said, grinning. But either way, it'll be fun. She rolled her eyes, but I could tell she was folding. When she stood, arms crossed tight, I tossed her a hoodie. A few minutes later, we were crossing the street. My heart thudded, not from nerves, just anticipation. Emma stayed a step behind me the whole way. I knocked once. The door creaked open almost immediately. He stood there barefoot, shirt halfway buttoned, hair still damp from a shower. And the way he looked at us, like he already knew exactly who we were, was wondering when we'd finally meet. He looked at us like he already knew why we were there. I didn't miss the way his eyes moved, just once, from me to Emma, then back again. Calm, measured, like he'd been waiting. Hey, I said, keeping my voice light. Sorry to just show up. We were out for a walk and figured might as well say hi. Emma stood just behind me, arms crossed, hoodie pulled tight like she wanted to disappear. He nodded once. Nice of you to stop by. We're Sophie and Emma, I added. Across the street. I know. That was all he said, nothing more. But something in the way he said it made it clear, he didn't buy our excuse, and he didn't need to. He stepped aside. We walked in. The house was warm and still, filled with soft light and the faint smell of coffee. Music played somewhere in the background, slow, low, like it had been on for hours. On the counter, 2 glasses, one already full. I raised an eyebrow. Expecting someone? Not really, he said. Just figured I might have company. I shot Emma a look. She pretended not to notice. He handed me the glass. I took it without hesitation. Emma hovered near the door, still unsure, still quiet. You're not what I pictured, I said, taking a small sip. Neither are you. I smirked. And what did you picture? His tone didn't change. People who watch that closely usually avoid eye contact the next day. Emma flinched. I didn't. You saw us. It's a window, he said. Not a one-way mirror. I laughed, quiet and sharp. Fair. He dropped onto the edge of the couch like it was nothing, arms resting on his knees. Emma still hadn't moved. You can go any time, he said gently, looking her way. No pressure. She didn't answer, just stayed where she was, eyes flicking between us. I leaned on the back of the couch, facing him. You get a lot of fake excuses at your door? He looked up at me and smiled, calm and sure. I leave the window open for a reason. I didn't back away. I got closer. I leaned against him, one leg draped casually across his lap, fingers resting lightly on his shoulder. He didn't move, just let his hand settle on my thigh like he'd been expecting me. Emma's voice cut through the quiet. You're actually doing this? I looked over at her, still standing near the door. You act like I dragged you here. You kind of did. Then go, I said simply. Or stay and admit you're not just here for me. She shook her head. He's a stranger, Sophie. No. He's the man who's had every woman in this neighborhood leaving his house like they forgot what year it was, including the one we watched last night. He raised an eyebrow, just slightly. I try to make sure they don't forget me. Emma flinched at that, but her eyes stayed locked on his. I stood up slowly, walked over, and took her hand. She froze. I felt her pulse jump under my fingers. "You don't have to do anything," I said quietly, "but don't lie to yourself either." Then I guided her forward, step by step, right in front of him. He looked up at her. Calm, steady, unreadable, then leaned in and kissed her. Emma let out a shaky breath when his mouth touched hers, but after a heartbeat, she pulled back. Her face flushed. I didn't hesitate. I stepped in, brushing past her, and kissed him with full intent. No guessing, no pause. I made it clear what I wanted. His hands moved to my hips, steady and deliberate. When I leaned back, neither of us said a word. I reached for the hem of my dress, and he mirrored me. We slipped out of them like it wasn't the first time we'd done this with someone. Then I moved closer, hands still resting on him. His breathing shifted. I took my time, tracking every change in his body, the way his shoulders tightened, how his grip tensed slightly against the cushion. I wanted to feel everything he was holding back. Behind me, something changed. He looked past me and offered a hand. Emma stood there, still holding her dress like a shield, hovering between stepping forward and walking out. He didn't say a word, just nodded. Emma moved toward us, slow, cautious, but not resisting. He kissed her again, softly this time. She didn't pull away. His hands slid behind her neck, grounding her while his other hand helped ease the dress from her shoulders. It dropped without a sound and her breath followed. I kept going, letting the rhythm guide me. Emma joined me on the floor, still hesitant, until he touched her cheek, guiding her with calm certainty. Our hands brushed briefly, both of us focused on the same purpose. She was slower, more tentative, but growing bolder with each movement. When his head tipped back slightly, I knew we were making progress. Then he spoke, voice low and steady. "Both of you." Up we stood together. He slid further into the couch, arms resting wide. I climbed onto the cushions, straddling him slowly, and shifted until I was exactly where I needed to be. The moment his lips met my skin, my grip tightened. His movements were deliberate, focused, unrushed, endlessly skilled. I tilted my head back, breathing through it. Emma lowered herself again, and I glanced down as she picked up where I'd left off. Her hands found their rhythm, growing more confident as I guided her gently. We moved together with shared purpose. His attention didn't falter, every motion built on the last, sending waves through my legs, tightening everything in me. My balance wavered, but I didn't want him to stop, not when he was this close to undoing me. Then Emma inhaled sharply. He touched her, encouraging her up. She stood and let him guide her into his lap. His hand steadied her at the waist. I stepped back, brushing a hand along her spine as she settled above him. She closed her eyes and let gravity do the rest. She shifted slowly, adjusting with each motion. His hands supported her, one at her back, the other bracing her hips. Her breath turned uneven, her focus locked on him. She leaned in, gripping his shoulders for balance as her movements grew stronger. Then her body tensed. Her head fell against him, her back arching just enough to show us everything we needed to know. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. He held her a moment longer, then stood with her in his arms and carried her to the cushions, lowering her with care. Then he turned to me. I was already ready, facing away, breath already shallow. He stepped behind me and took hold, guiding us into a rhythm that took over without hesitation. His hands were sure. His pace steady but firm. Emma lay nearby watching through half-closed eyes, still catching her breath. I smiled at her. Then the pressure shifted. I gasped, grabbing at the couch for balance. Every second pulled me deeper into it. He knew where to go, how to keep me right on the edge. When he angled just right, my back arched and everything inside surged forward. It hit fast and clean, shaking through me. I leaned forward, eyes shut, barely held together by the pace he kept steady. Still, he didn't slow down. If anything, he was just getting started. He turned to Emma, gently lifting her once again and laid her flat. She barely had a second before he joined her, moving with even more urgency. I knelt beside them, wiping the sweat from her brow, trailing light kisses along his shoulder and chest. Emma's hands searched for mine. I held it tight. She moved with him again, and faster this time. Her body responded easily, rising to meet him. She gripped the cushions. Her breathing shifted. Her reaction grew stronger with each moment, building, not stopping. I watched her closely, amazed. He kept going, focused, fierce, somehow tireless. His stamina didn't just impress, it overwhelmed. It felt like he could keep going forever, and part of me believed he might. At last, he let out a quiet breath against her neck as he reached his limit. Emma lay completely still, chest heaving. I curled up beside them, brushing strands of hair from her forehead, my own body still buzzing. Then I leaned closer and whispered with a grin, "Still think it was a bad idea? Before you leave, tell me, if two sisters showed up at your door like that, what would you have done? Be honest. Drop it in the comments. I wanna know. And while you're here, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching.